Hello my dears, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today I have another book related video to share with you guys. And today I thought I would share with you the books that I'm looking forward to reading this summer and fall, and what exactly is currently on my TBR pile. Of course, now that I've come to film, Trixie's beginning her restless evening pacing. So if you hear that in the background, that's what's going on there. But yeah, I thought we would talk about the books that I am currently really looking forward to reading. So let me just pull up my list here. And I should probably get my glasses on because the print is tiny. Okay, so the first one that I've got on my list is called The Only One Left, and it's by Riley Sager. I've only read 2 Riley Sager books so far. I read The House Across the Lake when that came out last year. And then during the year, I read another one. That one was called Survive the Night, and I liked them both fairly well, you know. From what I've seen of Riley's books, he tends to be a little on the ridiculous side, and that's not something that I mind. I know some people don't like a lot of his books, but the 2 I've read, I thought they were fun. The House Across the Lake was bonkers. It switched genres so many times I could barely keep up, but I loved that. And Survive the Night, you know, I had fun with that too. So this one calls itself a gothic chiller about a young caregiver assigned to work for a woman accused of a Lizzie Borden-like massacre decades earlier. At 17, Lenora Hope hung her sister with a rope. Now reduced to a schoolyard chant, the Hope family murders shocked the Maine coast one bloody night in 1929. While most people assume 17-year-old Lenora was responsible, the police were never able to prove it. Other than her denial after the killing, she has never spoken publicly about that night, nor has she set foot outside Hope's End, the cliffside mansion where the massacre occurred. Now it's 1983. A home health aide, Kit McDear, arrives at a decaying Hope's End to care for Lenora after her previous nurse fled in the middle of the night. In her 70s and confined to a wheelchair, Lenora was rendered mute by a series of strokes and can only communicate with Kit by tapping out sentences on an old typewriter. One night, Lenora uses it to make a tantalizing offer: "I want to tell you everything." And that sounds like it could be a wild ride, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading that one. And that comes out June 20th. So let's see what else we have here. Okay, one I'm really looking forward to reading is called The St. Ambrose School for Girls. I saw this described as Heathers meets The Secret History, and I loved Heathers, and I recently read The Secret History, so I'm guessing it's like sort of a mean girl, a boarding school or university type situation. And I always loved those kind of books. Even when I was a kid, I loved any book where like the kids all stayed at the school. I thought that sounded like the dream. So let's see what it says. When Sarah Taylor arrives at the exclusive St. Ambrose school, she's carrying more baggage than just what fits in her suitcase. She knows she's not like the other girls. If the shabby all-black non-designer clothes don't give that away, the bottle of lithium hidden in her desk drawer sure does. St. Ambrose's Queen Bee, Greta Stanhope, picks Sarah as a target from day one, and the most popular, powerful, horrible girl at school is relentless in making sure Sarah knows what the pecking order is. Thankfully, Sarah makes an ally out of her roommate Ellen, a cigarette-huffing, devil-may-care athlete who takes no bullshit. Also down the hall is Nick Hollis, the devastatingly handsome RA, and the object of more than one St. Ambrose student fantasy. Between Ellen and Nick, Sarah hopes she can make it through the semester, dealing with not only her schoolwork and a recent bipolar diagnosis, but Greta's increasingly malicious pranks. So that sounds interesting. I don't know if that's YA. I thought it wasn't, but now that I'm reading the full synopsis, maybe it is. I don't know. I do not know, but either way, I got that soft spot in my heart for people living at school. Whether that's like a boarding high school or university. Yeah, it's a boarding school. It's a thrilling coming-of-age novel set in a boarding school. So this comes out July 11th. We will see, I guess, if it's YA. Just because the characters are young doesn't mean it's YA. Not that there's anything wrong with YA. If you love that, you read that, go for it. And I'm gonna read it one way or the other. But yeah, the age of the characters doesn't dictate. You can have young characters and it still be an adult novel. So I'm interested to see what that one's like. Next up, we've got a new Lisa Jewell book coming in August, which I'm very excited about. And I was able to get my hands on an early copy of. So I'll be reading that before August, but it comes out in August. It's called None of This Is True. Already I'm like, yeah, I'm into that. So let's see what it says. Celebrating her 45th birthday at her local pub, popular podcaster Alex Summer crosses paths with an unassuming woman called Josie Fair. Josie, it turns out, is also celebrating her 45th birthday. They are, in fact, birthday twins. A few days later, Alex and Josie bump into each other again, this time outside Alex's children's school. Josie's been listening to Alex's podcast and thinks she might be an interesting subject for her series. She is, she tells Alex, on the cusp of great changes in her life. Josie's life appears to be strange and complicated, and although Alex finds her unsettling, she can't quite resist the temptation to keep making the podcast. Slowly, she starts to realize that Josie has been hiding some very dark secrets, and before she knows it, Josie has invleged her way into Alex's life and into her home. But as quickly as she arrived, Josie disappears. Only then does Alex discover that Josie has left a terrible and terrifying legacy in her wake, and that Alex has become the subject of her own true crime podcast. Got a little too excited there. With her life and her family's lives under mortal threat. Who is Josie Fair and what has she done? That sounds good. Looking forward to that. Oh, and I just looked again. So the St. Ambrose School for Girls is listed as adult fiction. Just so, in case you were also wondering. I'm also looking forward to Catron Award's latest novel, which comes out again in August. And this one is called Looking Glass Sound. I've read 2 books of hers. I've read The Last House on Needless Street. And, I read Little Eve. Loved them both a lot. I think she's a really, really interesting horror storyteller. So very much looking forward to this. So let's see what it says. In a cottage overlooking the windswept Maine coast, Wilder Harlow begins the last book he will ever write. It is the story of a sun-drenched summer of his youth and of the killer that stalked the small New England town. Of the terrible tragedy that forever bonded him with his friends Nat and Harper in unknowable ways. Of a horror that has followed them over the years. Wilder has returned to the town decades later in an attempt to recount that summer's events in his memoirs. But as he writes, he begins to fear his grip on the truth is fading, and events in the manuscript start to chime eerily with the present. He's even started seeing a dark-haired woman down in the icy waters below the cottage that nobody else can see. No longer able to trust his own eyes, Wilder begins to fear that this will not only be his last book, but the last thing he ever does. And then I see at the bottom here, there's a quote from Chris Whitaker of the New York Times, best-selling author of We Begin at the End, and he calls her an alchemist of storytelling, and I feel like that's so true. All of her books are so different, and just so well done. So well done. So I can't wait for that. Next, we have a book called The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic by Brianne Randall. This one sounds cute to me because it says for fans of practical magic and the Gilmore Girls, and that's literally 2 things I very much love. So it says, Sadie Revelair has always believed that the curse of 4 heartbreaks that accompanies her magic would be worth the price. But when her grandmother is diagnosed with cancer with only weeks to live and her first heartbreak, Jake McNally, returns to town after a decade, her carefully structured life begins to unravel. With the news of their grandmother's impending death, Sadie's estranged twin brother Seth returns to town, bringing with him deeply buried family secrets that threaten to tear Sadie's world apart. That sounds fun to me. I'm thinking it's gonna be like kind of a cozy type of story. And that one comes out July 25th. And I'm very excited for that one. And this one is a new book coming out from Nick Cutter, and he wrote The Troop, and I know a lot of people loved that book, and I've just never read it. So I see, like I said, he's got a new one coming called The Handyman Method, and this sounds right up my alley. So first of all, it says a chilling domestic story of terror for fans of Black Mirror and the Amityville Horror. When a young family moves into an unfinished development community, cracks begin to emerge in both their new residence and their lives as a mysterious online DIY instructor delivers dark subliminal suggestions about how to handle any problem around the house. The trials of home improvement, destructive insecurities, and haunted house horror all collide in this thrilling story, perfect for fans of Nick Cutter's bestsellers The Troop and The Deep. So that sounds very interesting to me. I love that title too, The Handyman Method. That's clever. Two other books I'm looking forward to presently. One is coming out from Jennifer McMahon. As you know, I've loved her, and it's her newest book that I think doesn't come out until September or October. Let me just take a look here. I really do need to start diving into her older ones. I've read 3 from her and loved them all so much. It says the New York Times bestselling author returns with a spine-tingling psychological thriller about a woman who, after taking in her dying alcoholic mother, begins to suspect demonic possession is haunting her family. Allison has never been a fan of Christmas, but with it right around the corner and her husband busily decorating their cozy Vermont home, she has no choice but to face it. Then she gets the call. Mavis, Allison's estranged mother, has been diagnosed with cancer and only has weeks to live. She wants to spend her remaining days with her daughter, son-in-law, and 2 granddaughters. But Allison grew up with her mother's alcoholism and violent abuse and is reluctant to unearth these traumatic memories. Still, she eventually agrees to take in Mavis, hoping that she and her mother could finally heal and have the relationship she's always dreamed of. But when mysterious and otherworldly things start happening upon Mavis's arrival, Allison begins to suspect her mother is not quite who she seems, and as the holiday festivities turn into a nightmare, she must confront just how far she is willing to go to protect her family. So that sounds pretty good to me. And then the other book I've kind of got on the docket here is called Old Country. I think this was written by brothers, which is very interesting. Yeah, Matt and Harrison Query. And this is about a haunted house. This terrifying, twisted thriller, a young couple discovers the horror held within their newly purchased dream house. So that one's been out for a while already. I've got that one sitting on the shelf waiting to dive into it. And I can't wait. So there you go, you guys. Those are the books I'm currently looking forward to. Also, I should note, Paul Tremblay has a story collection coming out. I can't quite remember the day. I think it's more towards the fall, like September, October. So I'll probably talk about that one more later, but so many good books, so little time. Let me know in the comments down below what's a book coming out in the next 3 to 6 months that you are so excited for. And I will see you guys again real soon with my reading vlog for Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Bye.